Hello and welcome everyone. This is your photography group update for June. First of all, I'd like this opportunity to announce our new SOX acronym, which is Shut-ins of Havia. Anyway, we'll be having our June Zoom, not June Gloom, but June Zoom meeting, which will be at our regular time at 1 o'clock on the first Wednesday, which is June 3rd, next week, at 1 o'clock, and I'll be sending the link to you about 12:55, June 3rd. So I hope to I'll see you there. But please email me your free choice photographs, renaming them with your first name, FC, and then O1 and O2. Make them a current photograph. Try to incorporate, if you haven't already done it, making a good photograph, what you consider a good photograph, incorporating some of the things you've learned in the past year up to now. And, you know, it made the assignment especially easy, so don't embarrass yourself with a lame excuse like the dog ate the homework, or I lost my camera, or the batteries were dead, or I couldn't buy an expensive lens, or I had to redo my sock drawer. I think aside from I've been under a ventilator for the last 30 days, I don't think you have any excuses not to participate in this one. Okay, I wanted to share some fascinating cutting-edge technology with you, which is presented by our friend that we follow quite often, Chris Marquardt. And you're probably familiar with the Ken Burns effect, which is where you take a two-dimensional photograph and then render it in 3D. I've attempted to do that myself in some video efforts, but it's extremely difficult. But there's some stuff coming up that is quite fascinating. Like we've said, this is quite an explosion in technology. This is something that's coming down the pike.
To Chris Marquardt, the photo guy. Hello, Chrissy. Sorry, I shouldn't call you Chrissy.
Hello, how are you?
Do you get mad if people call you Chrissy?
No, my dad used to call me that when I was young.
Okay. You gotta be careful with nicknames for people. Chris is a great photographer. I have huge respect for him. I love his photos. Normally, he leads these wonderful photo workshops all over the world at discoverthetopfloor.com. Not doing that, I guess. But he's still
working on other things.
He's still in. Yeah, but you got a secret project you're going to reveal next week. I saw that in the chat. But
I will.
Meanwhile, he is, doing a lot of interesting, fun stuff. In fact, this is, you've inspired me now to go out and either take pictures at home, or when I'm safely social distancing, go out and take pictures of our quarantined village, because it's historic. It's fascinating. So.
They're different, right?
Yeah, there's definitely opportunities to safely do photography out there. But today you want to talk about some photo news.
Well, it's news. It's kind of a bit of a future of photography thing here. And there's just things going on, and I do keep an eye on what's going on in the field. So one thing that's just came out is a new piece of hardware by Sony, which is a sensor that has AI built in, which I find pretty interesting. So,
and by the way, Microsoft at their Build conference announced that they were working with Sony on this thing. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
So what this thing is doing is they have, a while ago, they announced this stacked design with like several chips on top of or under the sensor in the same package. And I wasn't really sure what they wanted to do with that, but now it's kind of clear. They're putting AI in the sensor, which means that the sensor is not only going to send the image for whatever software is behind it, and that would then do the processing. No, the sensor does the processing itself. So
That's
that
bizarre.
would enable.
So it's not software in the camera. It's not in the cloud. It's on the sensor.
It's running on the sensor. So the sensor will then deliver not just the actual photo, but metadata. And that could be anything you want to put in that AI, like recognition of things, like the sensor will deliver a photo of a dog, and it will deliver the word dog. It will tell the software behind
really?
what's on the picture. That
See,
kind of stuff is going to be enabled.
It's mind-boggling. Right now, I upload everything to Google because Google will do that, but that's an involved process. So you're saying this chip will just do it? What does it store it in the EXIF information of the photo?
I don't know. I have no idea how that communication really works. I think that's a new protocol or something. But it's interesting. I mean, the place where this happens, where the processing happens, is moving into the sensor, which
that's bizarre.
Again, will make things easier for camera manufacturers because they won't have to do that much processing anymore, and you can use it in. I think right now it's only in industrial applications, but that will move into our camera sooner or later. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Second thing, is a video that I found online about this whole image recognition thing, and a bit of a cautionary tale about how those AIs that do image recognition can be fooled, because there's a lot of research going into that as well. So in that video, there's an example of a school bus that gets classified as a school bus.
Yeah.
And then what they do is they add some specially crafted noise to the picture that you don't really see with your eyes.
Yeah.
But it fools the image recognizer into recognizing the school bus as being an ostrich. So it really... There are attacks on these things, and they are getting really sophisticated.
You got to know what you're doing, though. I mean, you have to know exactly how the recognition is working so that you can fool it. That's not going to work in every respect. Although I have seen studies that say people who paint their faces as juggalos, as insane clown posse clowns, face recognition doesn't work. And you know what? One of the reasons I'm loving wearing masks these days? No face recognition. No face recognition.
I hate that when I'm shopping and I have to type in my code all the time.
Well, that's true. It kind of breaks your iPhone. Yeah. But other than that.
So anyway, just keep that in mind. These things are not entirely foolproof, and there's a lot of research going in it on both sides of the ones who want good recognition and the ones who kind of want to thwart it. Third thing, and I do have four things. The third thing is an interesting, again, a video that goes into the creating a Ken Burns effect in 3D, but from a 3D image. So, you know, these camera pans, or well, we call this the Ken Burns effect. The picture's moving.
He used it in his documentary Civil War. Exactly. Apple appropriated it, which, by the way, really annoyed Ken Burns. They had a Ken Burns effect in iMovie, and Burns contacted him, said, "You can't use my name." So they made a deal. I'm sure they gave him something. But anyway, it is the Ken Burns effect, which is this pan and scan of a still photo. But you can do it in 3D?
So now what they're doing is they have an AI that estimates the depth in the picture, and then you move that virtual camera sideways, and you get it looks like a 3D picture.
Well, I've seen that on Facebook. The Facebook now, everybody's posting pictures that you can kind of move around. Is it like that?
It's probably a similar effect. It might be even the same algorithm. But it's really interesting that now a neural network can guess the depth and can create a 3D scene out of a 2D picture. And it's very convincing. It's very sweet looking.
We live in an interesting world, I must say. Yeah.
And this will I'm pretty sure this is already being used in movie production where they make 2D movies into 3D movies and that kind of stuff.
So instead of the Ken Burns effect, you can zoom in, but everything zooms in equally. This, because it understands depth information, zooms in with perspective. So the closer things zoom more than the farther things. That is
it does.
A wild effect. Yeah.
It is wild. Yes. Yeah. And last but not least, a while ago, we talked about a generative adversarial network. That's the term. A neural network that creates pictures of people. And it was relatively easy to spot them. It was relatively easy to spot if they were real or not, the faces that came out of that. Behind it was a network called StyleGAN, and this has now been replaced by StyleGAN 2, which is the successor of the StyleGAN. It's doing more detailed pictures, more realistic portraits. It fixes a bunch of problems, has less artifacts. You will still in some pictures see artifacts, but it is so much better in creating fake portraits
So
of people.
I'm going to a website called This Person Does Not Exist, where it shows pictures of perfectly nice, ordinary-looking people, except they're not real.
They're not real. So
They're generated
Yeah.
by AI?
they are generated by AI and they do not exist. So if you need to build a website and you pretend you have a big team of 20 people on your
what a
company,
good idea.
just take those. No one will
get upset. Is it bits and pieces of other people's faces that it's combining?
It's not really doing that. No, it has a bunch of parameters you can move around, like gender and color and hair style and that kind of stuff, and it is generating them. It has learned to generate people by looking at millions of photos, but it's not taking like a nose from here and an eye from here. It's doing it in a neural network way.
And by
And then on a separate note, I'm sending a link on the subject white balance, which is very important to producing a good photograph. We haven't really covered that particular area a lot, and this tutorial video kind of shows you how it works and how to attain the proper white balance, and it can make the difference between an average or mediocre photograph to an outstanding one. If that white balance is off, sometimes it can look really goofy. And then lastly, there's a link to, I was real happy to see a lot of you already have, more than I thought, a lot of you already have post-editing software, Photoshop, Lightroom, and programs like that. I know some of you don't, and that Lightroom and Photoshop are really expensive these days. You almost have to have an ongoing subscription or pay a fortune. But there is one free software program out there called Snapseed, and it's for the Mac or the PC, and it gives you all the most of the bells and whistles of the big guys. In addition to global settings, which are your contrast and transparency and your curves, which adjust the entire photograph at once. But the more sophisticated programs have what they call selective tools, and these are tools that you can work on specific areas of the photograph, be it colors or changing backgrounds, putting in a vignette. Quite handy tools when you really get a photograph that you really want to make pop. This type of software is. So we're going to start to delve into post-processing and speech therapy. Post-processing a little bit coming up. So that's all I really have for today. Hope to see you on June 3rd, and set the time aside to take a look at these videos that I've linked to you, and we'll see you all June 3rd. So stay safe. Okay, bye.